and that's it.
Oh yeah, like mega churches, I guess you could call them, always tend to lead into just being essentially corporations, which is what I've always had the problem with.
I mean, we are a big congregation. Like, we have a big building and we have 3 services that are with like 200 people in each of them. But it's just the one. And I know that they're legitimate because the church, and I'm helping them with this, is constantly going out of their way to do community service work. Like, we're out there feeding the homeless and helping kids. Like, I sponsor a kid in Ethiopia through the church.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't even think it really, like, for example, if you're atheist, like you don't believe in like God or anything, like, it doesn't really matter.
I don't think that I'm just defending, by the way. I'm not really going to attack.
I've always kind of believed that God doesn't, like, as long as you're following God's law, like, he doesn't, he cares more about, like, the character.
He cares about your character. Well, here's a big kicker, though, is that we all fall short of the glory of God, which is why Jesus is important. We are all flawed. We will all fail and sin at some point.
Well, yeah, every human is flawed. That's basically the core tenet of the faith. But the whole thing's not meant to be like, oh, we're humans suck, we're all bad. It's obviously like, you know, we're all sinners, but we all have the chance to redeem ourselves too.
You are correct.
And honestly, I don't know, I've actually always liked religion, not just Christianity, but religion in general. Like you have Islam, Hinduism, various Buddhists, even some pagan faiths I've always found kind of interesting.
Yeah, I find them interesting, but the more I study religion in general, the more I'm affirmed that Christianity is the right one, because you dig into like Islam and Judaism and you realize how messed up they actually are.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, pretty much every religion is messed up when you look at it. Everything's messed up when you look into it. Like,
brothers.
Often Western Buddhism, like the kind you see, like, you know, yoga enthusiasts practicing, is like just an excuse to be a degenerate, essentially.
Exactly.
Islam doesn't seem to be too bad, depending on, like, for example, you have the Wahhabists, like the extremists. They're nuts, but
Akbar.
If you actually read the Quran, which I have a bit, Islam is just messed up to its core. And you look at what they do. Like, there's a tenet in the Quran known as taqiyya. It is the concept of basically it directs Muslims to play nice with non-believers until they either have until they have sunk into the power structure of the area, until they have a majority and they think they can get away with it, and then they will stop playing nice and they will violently attack you. That is a core teaching of Islam. So when you see a Muslim playing nice, that's probably what he's trying to do, is he's waiting for the opportunity to kill you.
Yes.
I mean, it depends on the individual, obviously.
They're just
well, at the end of the day, that's what their book tells them to do.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think it's also about the origins, since Christianity, I guess you could say, started with obviously the Israelites, and then it evolved out of the whole Roman thing. In fact, the split between the Eastern Orthodoxy and the Catholics is a remnant of the split of the Roman Empire too. Yes. But I think it's how it started, because I think Islam sort of started with that war invasion stuff.
Yeah. The Crusades were based.
Yeah.
Teach those savages a lesson again.
Thank you, Doctor.
I mean,
people always bash the church for doing that. It's like, the Muslims invaded the whole of northern Africa and southern Spain first.
Christians killed
Happy
Jesus.
girl, we, they, she, they.
Oh, the
yeah.
Jews killed Jesus. The Jews killed
Yeah, I
Jesus.
forgot
Let's get that
how
square.
bad those guys were.
To be fair, yeah. Honestly, though.
But Jesus was a Jew, so really he just killed himself. He could have saved himself like they told him, but he didn't.
So,
Well,
the Jews
I
of
don't
the
think
Old
he sacrificed
Testament,
himself.
the Jews of the Old Testament, like Abraham, Joshua, King David, they don't exist anymore. By the time Jesus rolled around, the Pharisees, the Jewish leaders, wrote a new book. It's called the Talmud, which is their, quote, interpretations of the Torah, from the Tanakh, of the Old Testament. And it asserts things like non-Jews only exist to be your slaves. Why do you think they own all the banks?
I mean, one thing I think I've always believed in is that, I don't remember who said this, but I remember someone, God doesn't care
Yes,
about the flag,
Kanye.
only what's behind it.
You listen to what
That's a
Kanye
good-
says, you're about as
That's a good thing.
dissociated and fucking out of your mind as he is.
Nah, see, I thought he was out of his mind, and then I read the Talmud, and I went, oh no.
The dude is wearing like a fucking sock over his head to do interviews. He's fucking out of his head. He thinks
Well,
people are trying to murder him like every day. Like he's actually just crazy.
his managers had him drugged up to high heaven when he was performing.
That probably would have helped him. Honestly, he kind of needs it. Maybe he shouldn't be doing whatever they gave him, but he needs something.
Careful, there's a dumb down there, over.
Honestly, I don't trust the idea of giving people drugs for mental issues by and large.
Why not?
It's gotten to a point where, because it's really profitable, and it just, like, I've seen what things like antidepressants and meds like that do to people. I was on them for a bit. They just make you into drowsy sluggards.
Sounds like you're taking too much. You can pull it back, you know.
I was misdiagnosed with, I'm on the spectrum. I was misdiagnosed with Tourette's as a kid, and they gave me a bunch of meds for it, and it just made me sleepy and bleh. Like, I've seen what happens when
Where's the
people
outburst,
take
you
antidepressants.
fucking retard.
I've seen what happens when people take antidepressants. They go from feeling sad to feeling nothing at all. Like, I'd say that's worse.
Alright, I'm back.
Careful, I got a nest in sewer. Wait, there's a sentry!
Honestly, porn addiction is just as bad as hard drugs.
Oh, I know what you're on about. I've struggled with that since I was a teenager, and it's something that I'm actively working on. It's hard. It is so fucking hard, I will admit that. I'm ashamed of it, but I've gotten a lot better.
Especially, see, it's really, like,
There's 1 inch left in this sewer. We gotta get rid of that shit.
There's a reason the Bible says, he who lusts after a woman that is not his betrothed has committed adultery in his heart. It's because that happens. As you fall to lust, you mess up your... Sorry, you got it.
yeah, it's like, I think, honestly, and especially if you're, like, especially addicted for a while, it can lead to, like a lot of fucked up. Like you start, it's like when you're addicted to drugs, you try and get more drugs. When you're addicted to porn, you try and get more graphic. Which is where you get things like, basically anything on Reddit or 4chan. Feet, fucking inflation, just absolutely disgusting shit.
Yep, that's how you get that. It messes up the reward center in your brain.
That too. It's actually almost exactly like drugs.
And it leads to just like genuine sexual sin, like just being promiscuous is bad. It messes up the pair bonding center of your brain.
Oh yeah.
Humans are only designed to have sex with one person. That's a God-given fact.
Yes, and when you have sex with multiple people, it's been noted that it affects women
and that guy gets to
more.
win the evolutionary race, right?
Yeah, it's noted it affects women more, but it does affect men, too. But it has a more pronounced effect on women.
Shit. I just want my wiener to feel good.
Even a psychopath can find Christ. It turns out. I learned that recently.
They're probably just faking it for benefit, though.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like if they're reading the book and then doing everything the book says, are they really faking it?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference, though? A psychopath is someone who's wired to be basically incapable of feeling empathy or emotion.
We just gotta push the fucking sewers. Go, 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 go.
So, by reading the Bible, and so someone who's incapable of it and just reads it and takes it as a... What is it, like a... What's the word I'm looking
There's no
for?
meaning in this line. As well, just maybe something would be better.
There's incentive.
That's the way they see it.
There's incentive. So if he's incapable of feeling empathy, but he can read that book and take that, there's like, oh, there's an incentive for me to at least act the part of being a decent person. I'd say that's good enough if they're incapable of actually feeling otherwise.
He's literally incapable of being a good person, though. So I would say.
Well, what is being a good person?
Wanting to be a good person and feeling those feelings,